an Empire Boxing and Unlearning Network production.
Welcome back to the Empire Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and we are here with none other than the man, the myth, the boxing legend, Mr. Julian Chua, straight from Los Angeles, California. What's up, Julian?
Not much. Happy to be here.
I have to say this because it's just going to embarrass him, and this is the way I roll. My business partner is sitting right here, and he's a little starstruck today that you're on the podcast. Yeah, he's shaking his head right now. I got him. Anyways, we're all super stoked that you're on the podcast. I mean, you have definitely next leveled the boxing coaching world, and we're going to talk lots about that today. But like, we see you over here, we see what you're doing, and personally, for me, it's been cool just thinking about the day I met you and where I met you to like where you are now. I'm watching you on TV, like it's crazy.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm honored and I'm humbled to be here, and can't wait to be part of this show. So thanks for having me.
Wicked. Well, we're stoked to have you here. So let's kind of talk about you a little bit more personally, just to kind of start with. Give me like your boxing origin story. Like, how did you get into it? What age were you? And how that sort of evolved.
So I always liked boxing. My father watched it, and that's probably the only time we ever spent together was watching boxing. Right. And I wanted to do it ever since I was a kid. And I started at 12, and my mom told me I would be allowed to go to the gym, but I wouldn't be able to spar or anything like that. I could just learn how to throw punches and stuff like that. She's a doctor, so she was like concerned about head injuries and trauma and this and that. So
for sure.
So I decided, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just train. So I was training stuff, and I started feeling like I wanted to do more. And then I lied to my coach at the time because she told him specifically that to not let me spar. So I wanted to do it, and so I started going, and I was like pretty good, like naturally, I guess, like I was boxing other kids that had been sparring, and I did well, and so I was this dumb kid, and when you're a dumb kid and you're like kind of beating guys up, like your first two guys you beat up, you think you could take Tyson, you're just on the world. So my coach at the time brought a kid, I still remember his name. His name was Gabe Castro.
Shout out Gabe Castro.
Shout out Gabe Castro. He's actually my but he brought this kid in that was like who had like a bunch of fights already, and I sparred him, and this kid kicked the shit out of me, and I went home with marked up a little bit, and my mom knew it was up, and she was like, "You're not going back there." She was upset, and she's like, "You're never gonna go back there." So then, fast forward 5 years, I walk into a restaurant called Culver's in Indiana, and my old coach I hadn't seen in 5 years was sitting down there, and he was like, Julian. And I was with all my friends, and I turned on, I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, Robbie, what's up, So we start, we catch up briefly, and then he was like, so you still ever think about boxing? Like, you still ever want to do it? And he's like, I'm like, I mean, yeah, but I haven't thought about it in a while, but now he's sitting here talking to you, yeah, I'd like to do it. He asked me how old I was. I was like, I'm 17. And he goes, he's like, when do you turn 18? And I was like, April. And he goes, well, the Golden Gloves are in March. And it was like February already, like beginning of February. Indiana Golden Gloves are in March. He's like, if you want to, you want to try and fight them? And at first I was like, no, like what?
Yeah.
What? Boxing the Golden Gloves, like, dude, I haven't even thrown a punch since I was 12,
Right.
And so he was like, in front of my friends, he was kind of like, well, if you're scared, like, then don't worry about it, type of thing,
Yeah.
So I'll clean up the language, but yeah, it was kind of like that. And
we're loose.
He was just like, you're gonna be a pussy.
Here. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whatever. So I was like, I'm not a fucking pussy, So it was like, he basically like goaded me into doing it, and I'm so happy he did it because it changed my life. I ended up winning the gloves, sub-novice division, and then kept winning, and that brought me out to LA to possibly compete in the Olympics in 2012 and to train with Freddie. I got an opportunity. Like, people believed in me because off of a video they saw of me fighting, they saw I was like, I had like the guts and stuff like that and like good natural movement, but I was very green. Like, they could tell I had like no experience, and there's no way I was going to get to grow in boxing in Indiana when it's not like a boxing place. So they're like, we'll fly you out to LA. We'll take care of you for a while and see if it's a fit with Freddie Roach, and he can help you get ready for the Olympics at the Wildcard Boxing Club. So February 2012, or February 2010, February 26th, 2010. I barely remember my birthday, but I remember this date. I flew out to LA. I had a trial with Freddie. I sparred. I hit mitts with him, and he watched me, and he was like, yeah, I'll help him. I'll help him. I'll train him. It was like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like,
Yo.
I couldn't believe it, man. I get like kind of adrenaline, like emotion, thinking about like remembering that moment. And anyway, so I went back home to finish high school, and it came out like wildfire in my hometown. It came out in the news, like, 'cause nothing really special comes out of my hometown. So
yeah,
Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao's trainer, decides to take on a Filipino American, Julian Chua from Lafayette, India. It was cool, it was really cool. But when good things happen, you get people who love it and you get people who hate it. And I had a couple people who didn't like it, and they had something to say, and so I had something to do, and I ended up getting into a little like street scuffle right before I left for LA, and that was the first time I fractured my wrist. And from then on out, I just kept fracturing it, and then fracturing my other hand. And then it just, that's what got me out of competing in boxing. That and some other things, and if we have the time, I can go into that too. But that was a big component to me not wanting to do boxing as a career, because my hands kept breaking,
Right.
So it was like, and then I found what I was supposed to do in coaching, and I love it,
So did you, did you get surgery or anything like that? To like, when you're holding pads, did those injuries affect you at all?
No, they're hairline fractures in my scaphoid, in my left wrist, my scalp. I had scaphoid fractures. Then I had a distal radial fracture in my right hand. That one was like a full fracture, full break, but I didn't need surgery, but it was a full break in my right hand. So I kept fracturing my left wrist, and then my good hand, I fractured my right hand. And after I fractured the right one, that was when it was like, all right,
you're like, this is it.
After this, I'm done,
Yeah. So walk us through the feeling. Because like, for those who haven't, I've had the privilege of stepping in a wild card, and that's just in itself an experience. We don't have anything like that here. Like, you go in and it's just the way it smells, the way it feels, the energy, the people in there. Walk us through that day, going in there for the first time, knowing what you had to do. Freddie Roach is basically assessing you. Walk us through the feeling of that.
It's actually different now even than back then. When I went to the wild card for the first time, Manny Pacquiao was a boxing god. He was literally like the king of boxing. So, and back then there was no downstairs.
Right. Yeah.
The downstairs was actually a laundromat, and upstairs there was 2 rings, and like, you literally get there at 9 a.m. on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday for sparring, and sometimes you wait until 2 p.m. because there's like just boxing, and you have literally people from all around the world, like, because it's Pacquiao, and you literally need to pay $50 a month or $5 a day to go in there. So like, people like from all of these Olympic teams from different countries would be there, and you have to spar, like, you're sparring everyone. You're getting so much experience sparring like world champions, Olympians, this and that, and it's just constant, and everyone 2 weight classes below and 2 weight classes above are looking at you like a possibility, And the hardest pressure about it was that like Freddie Roach openly was saying that he was looking for the next Pacquiao. He's always looking for the next guy who walks in, who you met. He says you never know who's going to stumble into these doors, because that's how Manny got there. Manny got in there randomly stumbling through the doors, So because he put that out there, everyone's trying to impress him. And there's only one thing you can do to impress him, and that's knock people out in the gym,
Yeah.
A guy in the gym. So like back then, if you go to Wild Card and you're like, I'm looking for sparring, like, and you don't really know the vibe, it's like, no, well, you're not going to get that here. Like, you're going to fight somebody. Like, back then, ask anyone in those times, you're fighting. Everyone you're fighting somebody. So it was a lot of pressure, but I like loved it sometimes. Some days I woke up in the morning. This is also one of the things that I was like, I'm not sure if I want to be a fighter all the way, because you got to wake up. Sometimes you went to war with some guy on Monday and he's like, hey, that was great work. Wednesday? And you're kind of like, man, I wish this would be, and it's like, you wake up, you think about it all Tuesday, like both of you beat the crap out of each other. Then Wednesday, you wake up in the morning, you're like, sometimes you're like, man, I don't feel like dealing with this guy today,
Yeah. But you can't back down. I mean, everyone's there, like trying to level up and be the best and be seen, right?
Yeah. And if it's good work, everyone is all there was a classic, like, one more, everybody be like, one more, and it's like, well, you can't, no one's going to say no. And like, it sucks because you're like, you emptied out, like you emptied out that last 30 seconds, you emptied out swinging, and then some asshole in the back is like, one more, and everybody else like, one more. Everybody chimes in. It's like, dang,
Yeah. But what an incredible experience. And so did that sort of begin your coaching origin as well? Like all that experience, different looks from fighters all over the world. Like your boxing IQ must have just evolved so quickly over such a short period of time.
I don't know. It wasn't so much about my own personal sparring, except that was a massive part of my growth, because like I never had any fights that was anything here at the gym work at Wildcard. No, not even close. But but being able to, like Sean Porter said it on his podcast. He's like, I remember Julian. Actually, I sparred Sean a bunch, but when I was younger. But he said he would be the first one in the gym, and he'd just stick around. Like he didn't want to go home. He just, because I had nothing to do. I had no friends out here. I had moved out here from Indiana. I had a broken wrist for most of the time, So I just sat in the gym all day, watched people hit mitts, watched fighters like Jorge Linares, Adrian Broner, Danny Jacobs, all these people, Sean Porter, all these people, the Benavides brothers. All of them would be calling the gym, and I just watch and watch and watch and watch and watch and watch. And I was just so observant about everything and everyone and different styles. And I think that education was huge for me. And then from there, like, basically after I fractured my hand for the last time and I was ready to go back home to Indiana, I actually was going to go back to college. And I wanted to go to school actually for physical therapy for either athletes or kids. But from my own experiences, I wanted to help anyone who was like me, kind of type thing, But instead, Freddie was like, the first thing he said was like, "That's not for everybody." I was like, "Dang," breaking my hands. And then I remember Marie told me, and both of them said, "Hey, we opened a sister school pretty much down in Santa Monica called Wildcard West."
So talk to us about Wildcard West. You got the invite to head out there, train, coach, and what happened next?
So what happened next? I started training like a lot of celebrities. Like I trained like, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this, but like got to train like Rihanna, Bradley Cooper, Mandy Moore, Minka Kelly, the whole cast of Ray Donovan, like a whole bunch of people. And it was cool and everything, but I didn't feel like I was like fulfilling my purpose. I was kind of just like, this is all right, meeting cool people, making good money, but like I just felt really empty, like, because I was teaching them like passionate out of passion. I was like slipping, countering, and like position and stuff that I learned from watching, you know, being at Freddy's and everything like that, like trying to teach these people these things. None of it's like appreciated, or they're never going to.
Yeah, they're not on that level. They want to sweat and like burn some calories, and it's not the same value equation.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So then like my first fighter came along, and that was a guy named Mike Lee. And he was one of my first, and I had another guy, then the next guy came, and everybody just started like winning. And it just brought like so much. I felt like full. Like I remember when I was doing the celebrity thing, I fought again while I was still there, while I was over there. I fought in the national pals. I won them at 52. But then like, I don't know, I just like, it didn't feel the same. I don't know. Like when I started coaching fighters, it was different. It was just different. I don't know. Like, and after like winning the fight, like working, just, yeah. I felt this is what I was supposed to do, and
it just clicked for you.
Yeah. And then from then on, it's just been fighters. And now it's just different. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, so that's really cool. And then, so how did you, like, because I know right now on your roster, you've got, Scrappy, you've got Zerto Ramirez, you've got Van Heerden, you've got Arnold.
I don't train Van Heerden anymore.
Not Van Heerden anymore?
Yeah, we've been split since for a while. Yeah. But I never lost with him. We were yeah.
And Arnold Gonzalez, I mean, he, and then you're also building some momentum in UFC. Like you had Vittori, was Vittori your first UFC fighter?
Yes.
And now you've got one or two more.
I work with TJ Dillashaw sometimes.
That's right. Yeah.
Dillashaw, he's fighting for the title against Aljamain Sterling. Then I work with a guy named Urosh Medic. He just came off a good knockout win. We were the B side, and he actually broke the guy's face. It was bad.
Ooh, yeah. What, orbital or something?
Like in 4 places. That's what was said. Yeah, but
so the guy's got some punch.
Yeah, he can crack for sure. Wow. And then I help sometimes with a guy named Giga Chikaze.
Yeah, Giga for sure.
Yeah. So those are kind of the guys I work with in the UFC. I also, out of my boxers, I also have Azat Hovhannissian. He's ranked number 1 in a couple of the sanctioning bodies at 122. I'm helping now with Stephen Fulton Jr., Cool Boy Steph. He's unified 122 champion. I work with Jose Cepeda at 140, and I also work with Regis Prograis at 140. And sure enough, those two are fighting each other.
Amazing. So how does that impact your role in both of their camps?
I'm out of it.
Yeah, you got to be Switzerland, right? Like, how could you?
Yeah, no, and it's not even like it's not on any kind of business decision or anything like that. It's actually stupid business for me to not take, make a whatever I would make off a title fight, and these guys are like, they're my friends, also my friends. And my pride is my work is my pride, and like I love my job. I love doing a good job. And what am I gonna look like telling like Regis or Zepeda like, hey, he doesn't like this, he struggles with this. You just feel like such a rat to your friends. Like, no.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now you have such a fresh new school sort of vibe that you bring to a really old school coaching world. Like what kind of a statement like do you kind of want to make with that? Because I mean, you're already making one, but do you ever think about that? Like, man, like I'm different, like I'm changing things.
I don't really think about that at like too much. Like because I still love like old school stuff. I love a lot of the old school stuff, but I don't like a lot of the old school stuff in the way where like some people are so stuck in the past. Like boxing evolves constantly, like just like anything, like basketball, every sport evolves, like and like when did you ever see anyone move like Lomachenko? You know what I'm saying? Like when did you and anybody like masters rolling their shoulder like Floyd. I mean, there's been like James Toney's and even Georgie Benton in the past and stuff, but like as masterful as Floyd, I'm not sure. You know, like basically like people that, you know, they're people that change the game, and it's important that as a trainer you remember you remember the lessons from the past and the old school, but you also keep moving with the times. So I just like to try to, like, you know, move with the times, and I try to go above and beyond in my job, like past boxing. So almost everything I do in my life is like part of my job. So like, for instance, I love to play chess. Like I love to play chess because it works my brain still in that, like, you know, player versus player, step ahead of you, kind of
strategic maneuvering. Yeah.
If it's not like part of my career, I'm like not into it, like barely. Like even like, well, I have a drive to work like 30 minutes every day, like 20 minutes with no traffic, 30 minutes with traffic. My audiobooks, I've listened to like Peak Performance, like How Champions Think. Obviously, one of my favorites called The Book of the Five Rings. It's by Miyamoto Musashi. It's all about like
I've heard of this.
One-on-one combat, you know, obviously Art of War, like, you know, winning, like both the Relentless and Winning by Tim Grover. So I'm just like, where like the psychological part and like the war part of it, rather than just like punches and stuff, like position, like economics, like all these things, like I try to understand them from these books and like apply, see how they apply in boxing.
For sure.
You know,
did you see any of that sort of in the way Freddie coached or anything? Like, was he doing things like this back in the day, or is this again like kind of think more of a new school approach to coaching?
I think it's a new school approach to coaching. And you know what I actually love about Freddie Roach, and one of the things that I learned from him is that, like, there's a lot of extra stuff too. Like, of course you want to, like, you know, evolve with, you know, with boxing, but there's a lot, like he used to say, like, stairs don't matter. Like a lot of the fighters love to go to the Santa Monica stairs and like,
yeah.
And he used to tell me, you know how many stairs are in a boxing ring? He's like the ones just going on 3, you know? Like you'll see these guys doing all these drills and stuff, and like you'd be like, you know, Pacquiao doesn't do any of that. Like, at the same time, that's also a bit like, you know, they're like, I love new school stuff where, you know, for me, it's all about trying to, I love watching not only fights, but I love watching high level fighters train, because like, I love like why they do it. And not only that, like even mitt work, like people hate on Floyd's mitt work because they don't understand it. Floyd's mitt work, it's about rhythm, changing rhythm, always having an answer when you slip or roll or block or catch. You're always answering all the turns, all the movements. Like a lot of people you'll see when they pivot or turn, they're not in great position to fire back because they don't drill it. Like this guy, every time he shifts and changes in position, like he's ready to fire off or defend or whatever Roger would call out, he's in the position. So like, obviously, if you're like a boxer size person, there's no technique and you're just like, whatever, you don't understand what you're doing with it, then it would make no sense. But if I have a fighter, for instance, that constantly falls off balance when he makes a pivot or something, or he has problems where he shuts off mentally in rounds, like where he's just like, he'll be doing great and then he'll just have a lapse where he's just like, you know what I mean? Like, that Mayweather mitt work is very good for like keeping them sharp constantly. Like they have to be attentive constantly. So that works on the focus. Like, and then for instance, like I love like Lomachenko's training in a way where like even as simple as like they'll do a very strenuous thing, like whether it's like sparring or whatever, and then after they're done, he'll juggle for 15 minutes because the hardest thing to do when you're exhausted is like stay focused and concentrated and like turned on. And like this just juggling, like it requires you to like stay focused, you know. And I just understand why they're doing it. Even like Derek James mitt work. I love studying all these mitt styles trying to understand what the benefits are of them, where there could be holes because of the mid style, and then like depending on what my fighter's deficits are or like deficiencies, I'll apply that mid style to what they need.
I think what you said is so important. It's not what, it's why, and it's the technical application of these things. And I think when the fitness world weaves its way in, that's where people have all these opinions and judgments and complexities of like, oh, okay, like the fitness world scrambles it, right? Because people are using flow, if you want to call it that, but you and I both know that it's just the pad holders doing more of the work.
Exactly.
I mean, short of a backflip sometimes. I'm just like, what am I looking at? But there's because there is a technical application to all of this, everything. And I was talking to Taylor Ramsdell last week, and we were talking about the idea that a champion isn't built by accident. Of a random mishmash of like technical things or training techniques or whatever that someone saw on Instagram. There is a purpose and a why behind everything. And I think I fucking love what that's so much of what you are as a coach. Like you eat, breathe, sleep it. Like you're looking for everything in the library, and you're pulling books based on what the right, like what the person in front of you needs. That's coaching to me. That's real coaching,
I mean, everything you can watch on the internet of like even Emmanuel Stewart, Teddy Atlas, like these Eddie Futch, like Customato, like I've watched it for sure. Watched it. I like all these high level coaches and like how they think, and like I even watch how they corner. I watch like when to sprinkle in motivation, when to sprinkle in tactics, when to like just like how they're so good at, like I learned a lot from Freddie too. Like his control of a corner is awesome. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, I even wrapping hands. Like I've mastered. I feel like I've wrapped a professional hand very, very well. Like I wanted like to be well rounded at literally every single angle of this job.
Just a student of the game, like completely. It's really interesting what you say about cornering too, because and you see this at the amateur level a little bit as well, where coaches are just kind of growing with their athletes, and and the cornerings, it's not a 12 round championship fight or anything, right? So the cornerings is like cheerleading. And it's just like how valuable is harder. Well, why harder? Or get them, or like it's like there are things that I think you probably say that like I'm sure every fighter could jab, maybe like that's a useful piece of information.
That bothers me too. There's like
right,
a lot
but
of times if you listen, if you ever sat into what I'm saying in a corner, like it's really what's going on in there. Like it's like not like, and like what tactical decision do they have to make to change it if they're losing tied to their favor? What mistakes? It's like I can't stand when like a corner will just be like say some jab more, like kind of like like when like he's getting countered every time he jabs. What do you mean jab more? You know what I mean? He's trying. He's getting the shit kicked out of him because he's faint. If I need my guy to jab more and I see his jab is getting countered, I'm gonna tell him a tactic that will help offset whatever. Like I'll say, change your lead. So lead with a right hand or lead with a left hook, and that a lot of times will now get your jab back in because now he's expecting a different start. You know what I'm saying? And you can't just be like, you have to be so in that corner. Like it's so like you have to be so present.
You have 1 minute. The guy's heart rate hopefully isn't like blowing through the roof, but like ultimately the heart rate's probably over 170. And these guys are fit, so it's coming down really fast. Yes. But you have like 30 seconds for that athlete to maybe breathe and get some sense of consciousness to even understand what the fuck you're going to say to them. Right. And it has to be so condensed and so like specific, and that they can run with it, right? Like it's not like a time for cheerleading and giving a bunch of complex information and you're rattling off sentences. Like you probably have to fine tune. Are you watching around going, okay, this is exactly what I need to say, and not only what I need to say, how I need to say it?
Exactly. And it's like I know, because I fought myself. Like even like when you're sitting there and like you're breathing.
Yeah, you're like, chaos. I don't know what you're saying. Your mouth's moving, but
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But like I always started with like if there's chaos in the corner, like for instance, Zerto's last fight, like he got, or no, not last fight, the fight before that, he got cut. And my assistant coach at the time, he started freaking out. He's like, he's got. And then I remember like I had to get calm down, you know, and like we went up to the corner. Chris got in, started working on the cut, and like my assistant coach was like panicking. I was like pretty much like shut up, like everybody calm, you know, everybody calm. Now Zerto, I'm like breathe, you know. So it's like he's here. I need him here to be able to listen. But a lot of times they're here, then the coach comes in, they're telling 1,000 things in a panic state. And it's just like, if the fighter is not listening and if he's trying to listen, it's just stressing out more. It's just like, and like, I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. Like, like you see, when you care a lot, like you see 1,000 things that need that, and you see not even 1,000, maybe 3 things that need to change. You got to pick one. You know, like which one is the most important thing to give? Because that's all he's going to take. So it's like, calm down, give him one thing. And I've found myself, especially early in my career when I was coaching, like what I would almost overcomplicate like what was coming out. And I was
overcoached. Like,
it just, and they wouldn't go out and do it. You know, and then like it was like, okay, well, and then when I started like simplifying things and they were able to do it, it was like, oh, easy.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That's so cool to me. Like just this controlling the situation, bringing down the anxiety and delivering simple coaching that is so important and specific that the athlete can take and then make a real-time change in the face of war. Like they're going back out into war, you know, the stakes are high, but you have to do your job and you have 1 minute to do it. And that's, I'm sure that took a lot of time for you to find like sort of your coach, your corner prowess where, you know, you could orchestrate all those moments. And I think that's really, really cool about what you said about just bringing it down and being calm. So of your athletes you're working with right now, you know, well, I guess here's a better question. One, how different is it working with UFC fighters for striking than it is working with boxers? Like as a coach, what changes have you had to make?
Not too many, because it's about, for me, it's more about principles. Like position is position, control of range is control of range, even though the kick range is that's an adjustment. The kick range
that was sort of my I was curiosity. It's like I'm wondering, you know, how do you adapt like the boxing to the other dangers of elbows and knees and kicks and like shooting, takedowns, things like that.
Right. So I don't really teach. I teach like more. I don't really teach MMA fighters, like my MMA fighters, too much inside boxing because the elbows and stuff like that. So it's mainly about like when you get in like strictly punching distance, like what your punching distance is, and if you and like that, you can't be shut off while you're at like kicking distance still. Like in boxing, you can be at kicking range and be like kind of lax, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in MMA, and obviously distances are different based off of like the size of the person you're fighting. You know, like I had Marvin fight Kevin Holland, Adesanya. These guys are super tall. So like we had to like figure out which distance would be best for us to get closer. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was that those are the things. But like I said, like principles are principles, feints are feints, decoys are decoys. Like setting punches up off of priming a shot previously. It's the same principle, even though you can do it with your feet in MMA. But the principle of like hitting a guy low to feint and then go up, or it's the same thing. You just have different limbs to do it with. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. I noticed now less more than before about watching UFC. There was always a really big disparity between the guys that could strike really well and the kind of like the MMA striking, which was just, you know, like swinging punches. And I'm finding like, do you think like as more coaches or, you know, a coach like yourself enters into that world and these guys are coming to a striking specific specialist, do you think we're going to start to see better strikers? Like I would consider like Sean O'Malley and like Adesanya.
Oh, they're all, like
it's already wicked strikers, right?
It's already on it. Yeah.
Because I used to watch them at like UFC, you know, as like a boxing fan and be like, yeah, they're fucking striking. Like it hurts, right? It hurts to watch. And now you're seeing these guys who are like incredible distance management, incredible, a little bit more like boxing style defense, footwork, head movement.
Correct.
You know, they can, and then they can kick off, you know, different positions. Like you see guys pivoting different. Like it's just, I'm watching the boxing sort of weave its way in, and I think you're a really big part of that.
It's two things. It's that the coaching, obviously, that like people are, but it's really what it is the fighters, because performance bonuses, like and like fight of the night bonuses, like that's $50K, that's $100K if you get both. So guys are wanting to learn how to strike, you know, because like that's also how you, like there's only one Khabib, you know, like if you're a wrestler in the game, and like people aren't gonna love you unless you're Khabib. Like people love watching striking, like you know what I'm saying? Like, so like you're not gonna get like the fame, the notoriety, the performance bonuses, fight of the night bonuses, unless you get this down. And these guys, like you said, these guys, like, and if that's not what you're motivated by, you should be motivated by that. There are guys like Sean O'Malley out there now, and like this guy will whoop your ass, like for real, you know, like and he's gonna stay at a range where it's gonna be hard to take him down, and he's gonna pick you off. So if you're not doing it for the performance bonuses, you should be doing it to save your ass. You know,
yeah, for real.
These guys are popping up in MMA. You know,
yeah, and the movement too is really interesting. Like I find, you know, the change in the setting, like the, you know, the cage being octagonal, you can't really move laterally if someone's in front of you. Like that's where bad things happen. Guys get knocked out. They're moving laterally across the cage. And so you see more boxing style footwork coming in where people are cutting tighter angles. And I just think it's really cool. And I remember when I saw, you know, I didn't really know you had kind of been working with a UFC fighter. And then I saw Vittori and I was like, holy shit, that's Julian in the corner. Like, I'm like, let's go. Was that your first UFC fighter?
He was my first UFC
Marvin Vittori?
And we got together because it started with, he sparred one of my other boxers who's super, super talented. Like one of the most talented boxers I've ever seen, like lace gloves up. And he just hasn't got a shot. He's actually from Toronto. His name is Kareem Hackett.
Right, yeah.
Nasty. This kid's nasty. I've seen him he's been one of my main sparring partners for Gilberto Ramirez. He sparred Bivol. He sparred all these guys and David Benavidez, and he's up there with all of them. But he's 10-0 now. But anyway, the point is that him and Marvin sparred, and after that, Marvin was like, "What happened?" kind of deal. You know? What happened? So I was like, and then like his striking coach at the time was like a fan / like friend of mine, and was like, you need to see this guy and he'll help you. He'll take you to where I can't, kind of type of thing.
Okay.
So then we started our sessions and stuff like that, and then now like he's one of my best friends on top of like one of my fighters. You know,
that's so wicked. So Julian, how do you do it? How do you balance like life, study, fighters, camps? Like, how do you do it? What keeps you, like, how do you find that balance?
Love.
It's all love, baby.
It's all love. It's like, it's passion and love. Like I literally, I got to work at 7 a.m. today, so I was up at 6, and I worked straight today till 7:30. Like I had every hour on the hour. I ate when Zerto was finishing and Scrappy was warming up. I ate a Chipotle burrito. Like, and then if I wasn't on the Zoom call with you, I would either be studying or playing chess or something like that. You know, like it's literally like that's it. And then on top of that, I have a wonderful partner that helps me like take care of everything else that needs to be taken care of, you know? So she makes sure that the boat runs, you know what I mean? And it's just like, but other than that, like the whole like staying late and working late and all that study, like all the time, all the work spent, it's just love, because it's not really work. I don't know.
It's I think to be truly great in something, and I you know, I think you're truly great. I'm not the only one who thinks so, obviously, but you have to be obsessed.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be as obsessed as your fighters. You know, you're going through the championship run like right
I'm more
alongside of them.
obsessed than some of them.
And you almost have to be, right? Because
Yeah.
there's going to be times where you probably have to keep those guys like in line, be it like from a psychological, mental perspective, if there's doubts, and you have to be constantly evolving and elevating their game. So that means extra time spent that you're not with them working on them.
Yeah, and that's also why I read a lot of books on the mental side of performance. So I know when these things are like, I need to like butt into their like personal life, in a way. I try not to, it's not necessarily my business, but I know when it's the best thing for them, and like they always say, like, don't fall in love with your fighters and stuff like that. I don't believe that, man. I love all of them. They're like, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't stay up and study their opponents. Like, if I also didn't care about them, and you meet their families, their kids, you like their kids, their families. You don't want to let anybody, you don't want to be the weak link and let them down either. I take that seriously. I take that to heart. So I'm not about to be the fuck that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now you're at Brick House?
Yeah.
That's mostly where you spend time. Now, how's the Brick House? How old is that space? Because I don't remember Brick House being around when I was there. Maybe it was.
It was last year.
Okay.
About April last year.
Okay, and that space is looking pretty slick. So I'm coming in September. So I'm gonna come check it out for sure.
Yeah, you're welcome for sure.
Yeah, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Kino's over there as well.
I see him sometimes. He comes with Arnold at times.
Right.
He's not there all the time, but yeah, I see him there sometimes.
Kino's he's just in and out all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Wicked. Now, so we've got Zerto and Duval coming up. Talk to us about that a little bit. What's because I mean I'm such a fan of both of them, and I'm such a fan of like you and Taylor, and I'm like I gotta be totally neutral, but how's the camp feeling about that? Like, talk to us a bit about it.
What's funny? They're my buddies. Like,
right?
Taylor's my guy. Like, we worked with Mahdi or Ashkiev together. We've had a couple guys together, and I have nothing but the most respect for him. I got the most respect for Bivol. Like, I used to actually wrap Bivol's hands. Like, I used to be around them all the time. His trainer, actually, the older gentleman, Bivol's trainer, he loves my dog. Like, I he would bring Dempsey an egg, like because my dog comes to me to gym every day, and he was like so happy to come and see my dog. Like I know that I could use that as a tactic. Just bring Dempsey,
in the corner.
Put Dempsey, the coach would be totally distracted.
Okay.
But no, they're cool people, and then we actually follow each other on Instagram. It's like not like that for me, but he has the title. It's the goal. You know what I mean? Like if you ask me, not because of skill or anything, I'd rather fight Better Be because I don't know him. Like in that way, like I'd rather fight Canelo. But at the end of the day, it's business. They have what we're chasing, which is a world title, and so it is what it is, But I know how serious this fight is. I study him very, very much, and he's a very good fighter. He's a very good fighter. But Zerto is different. Like Zerto is very It's funny because the fights that people have seen of his as of late don't justify how good he is because he didn't get up for them. Like when I say he didn't get up for them, like he didn't get up for them. He's in camp early now, watching, training, studying. Like he's in it for this camp. And I just can't wait. Like I have what I believe will work against him that, and I've gathered all my resources in the way where like I also train a guy named Taras Shalestuk, who is Olympic bronze medalist. He's 19-0 now as a pro. And like he's given me, like, he's fought that style. He fought that style so many times as Ukrainian in the system. He knows how to deal with them. And like, I've literally pulled from everywhere. Like, obviously I have my brain, but I'm humble enough to ask. And because I care mostly about Zerto, you know, so we have what we're going to do down, and I mean, it's not down packed to execution yet. We're still obviously early, but I feel like if he can execute the things I need him to execute, we'll pull this off.
Well, and they're both dangerous guys. Like, you know, Bivol, he in that weight class too, he's a volume puncher. Like, he'll string like 4 or 5 punches together whilst moving to it, whilst changing angles, while circling. Like, you know, it kind of reminds me of like Usyk has a similar style as well. And then you've got Zerto, who I've seen like the power. Like,
and actually, you know what's funny? He's like, I only come into that lately, and he's actually a volume combination puncher as well. Do me a favor. We had a fight. Okay, when you get a chance to watch this, when Zerto broke off from Top Rank, okay, we had a fight against a guy named Alfonso Lopez.
Okay.
So watch Gilberto Ramirez versus Alfonso Lopez. Okay. And like that fight doesn't do him justice either, because 2 weeks before he almost tore his hamstring. So we almost pulled out of the fight. Actually, we were this close to pulling it out, and he was like, "No, I'm fighting this guy." So he fought this guy named Alfonso Lopez, and that was after a 2-year layoff. So let go past the first like 2 rounds, and from round 3 on, watch him then, because that's the Zerto that's coming. Like, without the ring rust, because he's been active. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll see, like, so this is what I like to say, right? Zerto or Bivol is okay to make beautiful boxing, real beautiful boxing, at least to my eyes. It's the mix of science and art, okay? Like the technical beauty, and then like the art form, okay? Where it's like the creativity side of it. You know what I'm saying? To me, Bivol is all science in a way where he is very good with his 1-2-3s, 3-2-1, 1-1-2. He's very good at the basics. He's so fundamentally sound. His distance is great. He knows how to get out of sticky situations, etc., like stuff like that. Zerto is more of an artist. Like when I say that, he like knows how to decoy. He he knows how to not waste a shot. Like I see Bivol, like, he doesn't care if your gloves are real tight. He doesn't mind trying to go through you, you know, with his combinations or whatever. Like whereas Gilberto is like a master of like being selective. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, that's kind of like if our art can like override the science. Like it's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a crazy fight. Like, I mean, just for the pure sake of boxing alone, like I can't wait. Like it's gonna be an amazing fight.
It's not totally confirmed yet. It's mandated, but
I'll just give him a call and firm it up for you. I'll just be like, listen, let's just do this.
For real. We can't wait.
Oh man. Okay, cool. So more about you. Like, I noticed like you're doing some powerlifting, some Olympic lifting, stuff like that. Now, are you moving into like a little bit of an S&C space, trying to bring that into your coaching, or is that just for you? That's for your own person.
That's me. That's just for me. Like, nice. You know, well, my strength coach for Zerto is a guy named Chris Wong. He's amazing. Like when I say like this guy is like, he does it himself. This guy, like, he's like David Goggins, Asian David Goggins. I'm saying like this guy is a beast. But anyway, he's the one who got me into it, because my posture was shit, like all this stuff. And he's like, this stuff will help you, you know? And I had so many injuries, and like I was lifting, like after I got into boxing, I was just like, to stay in at least like looking good, at least was like I would lift. And I was getting hurt more, I think, because I was like just tightening stuff that was already tight and like stuff like that. And like, he's like,
And
just
holding pads is no joke. Like even at a fitness level,
yes.
like you're just getting actually pads probably almost worse. Getting
Yeah,
wailed on by people that are just like there's no accuracy. They're not threading their punches. There's
correct,
like
correct.
or you got some big guy you throw on the body shield and they're like, all right, let's go. And like
Yeah,
I'm still over here like 135 pounds, like chill, bro. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
doing that is hard enough. Never mind at a high level with some of these guys. Like I watch like videos of like Andy Ruiz's coach, like with a body shot. I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. Never mind with like a Chipotle burrito in me. Like, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no. So yeah, you probably got a lot of wear and tear on your body and imbalances and things you got to correct, right?
And I would, yes, and I would like to say, if any coach is having these problems, start Olympic lifting, because I don't have any problems anymore. Like
Amazing.
my system, I feel like my system is like, I don't curl anymore. I don't bench, I don't do any of those things. But like my body feels so like my shoulders feel like they're where they're supposed to be instead of like here. Like,
Yes.
and it helps my body like catch stuff like and feel like okay. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's
Everything
so
around the joint is like structurally sound and supportive of that impact. Well, it's interesting because traditionally boxing coaches weren't like in great shape.
yeah,
Like there's like you
yeah,
got these guys, they've got guts and like a whole lot of wear and tear, and they look like these weathered sailors or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then you've got the flip side, like in the UFC, it's like everyone in the corner has like a
Fit.
six
Yeah.
pack or something. You're
Yeah,
like, the
yeah,
fuck's
yeah,
going on?
yeah.
Their shirts are so tight. It's like, and then again, like you kind of changing, making waves and being a new fresh face and a guy who like takes his physical health like seriously like that is really cool to see in the sport. And more good looking guys in the corners in boxing is like, we're good with that, right?
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
I think that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we've got a couple guys out here. Both of them fought on our last event, the Valoria brothers, Terrence and Michael. And rumor has it that you worked with Brian Valoria.
Oh, Brian Valoria and we coach a lot of people together.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah, that's my like, oh man, that's like my brother. Like Brian's my guy. So
Wicked.
and you know who's actually extremely talented, and I think he's gonna be a massive wrecking force when he turns professional. It's his nephew, Justin Valoria.
Mm.
Justin Valoria.
What is that family like? What are they eating? Like
Oh, I don't know.
what's happening there?
This kid's gonna be a problem. He's
Uh,
he's he's ranked number one in the nation right now, and he wins all his fights at the national level by stoppage. He's stopping all of them, like literally, like he in the USA's. I think his last USA, he stopped everyone.
wow.
Like
Just
he,
mowing through people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a nice kid, smart kid, humble kid, willing to learn and
Wow.
stuff like that. Like he's gonna be a problem.
Coachable. This is what
Yes.
we like. Well, so I reached out to Michael. I was like, listen, we want to get Brian on the podcast as well too. But I had
Oh,
to,
I can. Yeah.
yeah. So put in a good word for me. Yeah.
He'll do it, no problem.
All right. Wicked, wicked. Yeah, because I think that's a really cool kind of like 3 degree separation connection between these guys. Well, one day we'll have to have you out and get you VIP, like some ringside seats. Like you can just take the night off, come to an
Yeah,
Empire boxing show and just
yeah.
kick back and watch some Canadian boxing. I mean, we're trying to we're trying to bring Canadian boxing to the level that it is, in the States, which is obviously like a long, hard road. But I think the future of that is us connecting and helping bring up like the next gen with our friends in the States that are doing the same. So that's what's next for us. But what's next for you? Like where does Julian Chua go from here? I mean, like it's hard to go to the top of the top, but what do you have?
I For me, I never even like see I don't even see myself anywhere yet. Or I don't know. I just love what I do, I guess. I'm just like take fight by fight and like I just want to win. Like every fight's as important as anyone else's, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
world title fights are crazy too, but like I care about the Avalon banquet fight as much, Tijuana fight as much. You
Right.
know, I just like going fight by fight, you know. And but next on the schedule, I'm heading to Texas This weekend, I'm helping out in the corner with Carlos Nava. He's on the Virgil Ortiz card.
Mm.
I don't know if he's on the zone part or the Facebook live part, but he's an undefeated kid. He's 8-0, 8-0 with 5 knockouts. He's a pretty good fighter. And then after that, I head to Paris for Vittori versus Whitaker.
Oh, cool! Wow.
Yeah, and then I should be back. I'll be back quickly. I won't be going to Abu Dhabi for TJ Dillashaw's fight, but because Zurdo Bivol should have a date, and we should be like in like crunch
go time. Yeah. Now, are you gonna get a chance to take a recce to Vegas and go see Triple G and Canelo, the third installment?
I haven't decided if I'm gonna go do that yet.
Fair.
Yeah, but
do you go spectate? Do you even have time for that shit?
I mean, yeah, I do, but at the same time, like, neither of them are concerning to me.
You. Yeah,
right
that's
now,
fair.
you know, like
about the biz. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. If it was like Bivol fighting, like, and I knew Zurdo's next, I'm definitely there.
Is there a world in the next like half, let's say, I don't know, 6 months or something, we could see Bivol Canelo, or sorry, Ramirez Canelo?
Of course, if we get past Dimitri Bivol, then it will most likely be Canelo.
Yeah. So that, I mean, there would be some mariachi bands like paying rent that month.
Oh yeah. Oh, that yeah.
There'd be some wild Stetsons on. I mean, honestly, I love Zurdo's walkouts, like always. I'm like, tell me one other person that looks that good in a Stetson like that. I can't think of one. So
he's and like this guy has something in him when it's time to fight. There's a demon in there. Like there's a demon in there.
He's got a bit of dog. Like I've seen it. I've seen fights where he's had to really dig deep, and all of a sudden he comes out, and it's like something like a flip with switch,
Yeah.
And that's a kind of an aggression that I think he has. I haven't ever seen from Bivol. I've never seen Bivol like flip that switch where I'm like, that's a bad man. Like,
he's safety first a lot, which is very smart. But
which is kind of what you're saying, maybe a little bit about like more of the science and some of that artistry, like the creative allows you to tap into something else. Maybe.
That's right. You are. Wow. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, if I can impress you on a podcast with any words that come out of my mouth, then I'm doing all right.
That was very impressive.
Wicked. Julian, like it has been such a pleasure to talk with you. We love, like, I mean, those years in LA were some of the best years of my life in terms of meeting people that absolutely inspire the hell out of me to do what I do and to be excited about boxing, and inspired us to create a promotion and help athletes have a future. And then I see guys like you out there literally building those futures brick by brick, and I just think it's so fucking cool. So know that Empire Boxing are big fans of yours and everything you do, we're watching, right? We're always watching you. I don't
want to let you guys down. You gave me very good vibes right off the gate, and I don't know, like I feel like I could get along with you no problem. Like
yeah, same. Shout out Alex Robinson for introducing us. And that, I mean, that guy's still what a jet. Like he's still such a good friend of mine. We talk so often. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna try and catch his Soul Jam Sunday to go out when I'm out there. But and I have a funny memory. I think the three of us were out wild card. Alex was like, yo, let's go. We're gonna train with Julian. I don't remember what we did. We some bag rounds or something. And then you guys were like, let's do 300 sit-ups. And I was like, let's not. That sounds fucking terrible. And I think I made 100 and like 20, 50 in or something. And I was like,
we did. It was 1,000.
Oh yeah, it was like ridiculous. I think 160. I checked out. I was like, bye.
I remember that. Yeah, we finished it. He finished it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like training with all that rusty ass equipment. I was in my fucking heaven. I'm like, this shit is amazing. Yeah. I was vibing so hard. So oh, it's such a good memory. I'll definitely have to connect with you if you're around. You know, if you're busy in September or whatever, even if it's for a high five and a hug or whatever, I'll bring you a Chipotle burrito over to Brickhouse.
Right. Yeah, I'll never say no to that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your super busy life, and I hopefully you can get a little bit of chess in tonight before you call it.
And I'll probably eat and I'll probably like hang out with Jessica and like just call it because I'm pretty tired right now. But I'll probably watch boxing like when she passes out. I'll probably just turn a fight on and watch.
Wicked. And then early start be tomorrow.
6.
Yeah. That's the grind. That's the fucking grind. Well, we love to see it. On behalf of all of us at Empire Boxing Promotions, thank you so much to Julian Chua. If you don't follow him and you have waited till now to go onto your Instagram, please go follow the man. Support his journey and all the athletes that he coaches. Tune into the fights that he's involved in. You're not going to see another guy like this in the corner. He is making waves, and we're so stoked to be fans and supportive of you in your journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I had a great time talking to you. The questions were great. Everything about it was great, you know? So if you ever need help with anything like with Canadian boxing, if I can do anything for you guys in that way too, I'd be more than happy to do whatever you need. You know?
Thanks, man. It does take a village, and it's not about us, right? It's about the athletes and their future and the future of boxing, and that's I mean, we're so appreciative of that. This has been another episode of the Empire Boxing Podcast with Julian Chua. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Coach Jay, signing out.
Make sure to listen, follow, and subscribe to Empire Boxing on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.